What's up, guys? I'm Sean from Srkcycles.com, and I'm going to tell you all about the Triumph Thruxton. Cue the intro. So the Triumph Thruxton is in the Bonneville family. It shares the same frame and the same engine and most of the same parts. It's just a mild different, it's a little bit different. Now, a lot of people think that this bike is faster than the Bonneville, when in actuality it has the exact same motor and transmission and it basically weighs the same. They're both at 68 horsepower and about 51 foot-pounds of torque and weighing in around 500 pounds. But the biggest difference with the Thruxton is a lot of it's the styling. You know, it's a much more cafe racer-esque and aggressive, but it does have that flavor that's more on the sport side, where the handlebars are a little bit lower. You got the bullet fairing. The shocks are much better, and both front and rear shocks are adjustable, opposed to the Bonneville where they're not. The Thruxton does cost a little bit more, but also comes with a tachometer and not just a speedometer like the Bonneville does. It also has this cool looking bullet fairing. You notice the fender is bobbed out a little bit. Instead of coming down here, it comes down up here. And the exhaust, a little sportier looking, coming up here instead of coming down here. So it's a little cooler looking. It's got the stripe, of course. But one of the biggest differences from riding a regular Bonneville to this is how incredibly aggressive the seating position is. And not just with the handlebars, but with how far back the pegs are. So on the Bonneville, the pegs would be up here. That's considered a mid-mounted peg. These are actually so aggressive. If you look at the way where my feet are on this bike, probably the most comparable bike to this, you know, ergonomic seating position would be something more like this. And in actuality, I think the Bonneville is still even farther back in terms of where my feet are. So it is a very sporty. I'm sitting on this. All right, remember that feeling? It's almost the exact same position. Very sporty, very fun. So a couple of quirky little things about the Thruxton, and mainly just Bonnevilles, mainly just Triumphs, is the fact that this thing is fuel injected, but has this thing that looks like a carburetor because they like the look. They're keeping it with that old classic styling, which is cool, a little strange. On top of that, they kept a choke over here that you actually need to use. You know, it's not a choke, it's more of a high idle that you pull out on the side to get it to fire up. The other thing would be the key location. Now, all different bikes have different keys on different spots. Some you have on the tank, some you have on the side, some you have down here, some you have on this side. But this one's up here on the forks, which just seems kind of strange. But, you know, you get used to it. Now, another goofy thing about this bike is the kickstand is impossible because it's actually going this way. Hold on, maybe I can do it. Hold on. There we go. That's the first time I've actually been able to get it. It's much easier to go and grab it with your hand and get your hand super close to the exhaust. But it is, I don't know why, but I've put down a lot of kickstands. I know how to put down a kickstand. This one is hard to do. Other than that, it's a very simple bike. It's a great looking bike. I think it's beautiful, and it is a blast to drive. It's not the fastest thing out there, but it's also not the slowest. And it's a bike that you could buy as your first bike, and you could also keep this thing for the rest of your life because it's an enjoyable bike. It really does serve a lot of purposes. Everyone wants to put bar end mirrors on their bikes. It is coming from the side is much cleaner than coming from the top. But these are actually a functional bar end mirror that I can actually see right behind me without seeing any of my arm. I'll show you more about it in the test drive. Let's take this thing for a spin. All right, guys, do the test drive. But first, do the words of wisdom. Romans 1:16, for I am not ashamed of the gospel, for it is the power of God for salvation to everyone who believes, to the Jew first, and then to the Greek. Amen. All right, let's put on the gloves. Guys, I know I don't talk about this enough, but it's always important to wear the proper hand and body protection when you're riding. your motorcycle. These are the M1 Moto 507 gloves. Perfect for a bike like this. Pull the fake choke out. Alright, so this is my first time riding this bike. I don't always get to do a first time video, but this is my first time. Not my first time on a Bonneville though. And I actually feel very comfortable with the way this thing sits. Now what's interesting is, even though the legs are very aggressive and they're very far back, it almost, okay, here's one of like the best way to describe it. It's almost like you're sitting on a bike and then you threw your legs up to the passenger pegs. You know how you do that when you're on like a big highway ride and you've been riding for like hours and hours and hours, and you're just doing anything to move your legs and to put them in a different position? That's kind of what it feels like. I actually kind of like it. It gets them completely out of the way. But what's nice is your upper body is not very low. It's still handlebars. They're still higher than, you know, if they were clip-ons, which would be down here. Put that choke back in. I tried to hit it with my leg, but I couldn't do it. All right. It's got a nice sound for stock. A little louder than what I would have expected, but it sounds pretty good. This bike has 6,041 miles, which is a baby. Now this bike does not have that, it's not as flickable. It doesn't throw into the corners super fast, as you might think of it being a small bike. It does handle well. You know, okay, think about it this way. No one would ever say a super sport is flickable, because unless, you know, like a 600 or anything, it doesn't do it super quick. When you're just rolling around and zoom, zoom, you know what I mean? It's not super quick like a supermoto would be, but they still handle incredibly well, and it's more for, you know, higher speeds and, you know, and taking the big sweeping corners. This feels very similar to that. Just without the big power, but it's got killer. It's got amazing good looks. I love the way you can actually see out of these handlebar mirrors. It's one of those things that people just don't think about when they put handlebar mirrors on. They're like, oh, I think these mirrors look dumb. What is going on? This is not a stop sign. This is not a stop sign. This is a yield. That's the point of a roundabout. No one has to stop. We all just go. Clutch feels super light. Throttle very responsive, but not like twitchy at all. You know, just kind of does whatever you expect it to do. 5-speed gearbox. Shifts nice and smooth, nice and light, not clunky or anything like that. Get this thing up to the speed limit. There we go. There we go. Up to the speed limit. Keeping it legal. Driving the speed limit. There's no better speed to go than the limit. Right there. 25. Good thing we're going 25. So, is this the most comfortable bike to take on a long trip? That's debatable. I've ridden sport bikes on 600-mile-a-day trips, so that, whatever. It's no Goldwing, you know what I mean? But is it an awesome example of a beautiful, modern cafe bike that runs good, looks classic? This is the bike that everyone tries to make their old beat up Honda or old beat up Yamaha or Suzuki into. Listen, stop doing that. Stop ruining, stop taking these actually decent looking, you know, Maxims and Viragos and, you know, Shadows and stuff like that. Stop taking those bikes and ruining them to try to make it look like a crappy version of this, and just buy one of these bikes. Honestly, I see so many people and they're just doing all these goofy mods that they're imports. They're trying to make them look like European cafes, and they just destroy them. They never put them back together. At that point in time, when they sell them, they have no value, and they're losing money, and they're getting bikes off the road when they should have just, these bikes are not that expensive, and they work, and they have the look that you want. I love these things. This is a great bike. It's a good bike for beginners to ride on, and like I said before, you can, this thing is so great in these corners, these big swooping corners. It just feels so comfortable. You really want to see what you can push those, just how far you can go and push the limits. Yeah, this thing's a blast. There's my friends over at the East Enfield Police Department. Now, because the vibration, you do get a little vibration in the mirrors and the bars, so it's not like a crystal clear image, but it's enough to see if there's flashing lights behind you or a car trying to run into you. That looks pretty good right now. I don't know if that bullet fairing actually does anything. I don't notice anything. There's still a lot of wind hitting me, which I'm cool with. I like that. If I'm hopping on a bike like this on a day like this, or especially a hot day, you want all the wind hitting you as you possibly can. That's why sometimes, that's why like the new Ultras and the new touring bikes have little vents inside of them, because people will complain. They're like, I feel like it's too hot to ride my bike because no wind is actually hitting me. That's why you jump on a bike like this, even on the hottest days, as long as you're moving, bug just hit me right in the nose. As long as you're moving, that nice wind just kind of cools you down and it feels amazing. This is what this bike was really made for. Just these nice little twisty corners. Love it. Guys, do not forget to subscribe. We just launched a new channel. We've got Srkcycles, test drives, reviews, walkarounds, all that stuff. We've got the Bikes and Beards channel. That's kind of the behind the scenes and everything. And then we launched a new channel today called the Bikes and Beards Clip channel. And that's going to be the Bikes and Beards videos. It's kind of a long cut content. And we're going to split them up into smaller little clips, little fun, enjoyable clips, and throw in some content that didn't actually make it to the final cut. So, I'll put a link in the bottom that you guys can go and subscribe to that video. The Bikes and Beards Clip channel, we're trying to hit 100,000, no, we're trying to hit 1,000 subscribers in like a day or a week or something quick, and we'll get there. Guys, this video is brought to you by M1 Moto Gloves. I think I already talked about them, but whatever. Link in the description.